And that is where, like, setting up zones specific to yourself, your heart rate zones, your power zones, all that come into play because as an endurance athlete, you want to spend roughly between 80% to 70% of your time in your endurance zone and the rest depending on what specifically you're doing, whether it's sprinting, time trialing, so on, you spend it in, those zones. Earlier, when you're setting up heart rate zones, there is that, the rule of 220 minus your age. I mean, I'm not a big fan of that because that would mean that my age is 8 years old because my max heart rate is 212. So coming up to that, it goes person to person, size of your heart, genetics, all that matter when you're setting up, heart rate zones and actually taking endurance sports seriously. You asked about weather. I live in Ooty. I train in Ooty. Ooty has some of the most unpredictable weather there is. But, there is also equipment and technology in order for us to train indoors. We have trainers. We can put our bikes on the trainers, watch a movie, watch a cricket match, and just still get the same benefit as going out and riding on the road. There isn't such a big barrier between becoming an endurance athlete per se. Like, I only took up cycling in COVID, which was 3.5 years ago. And it started out as a hobby just to waste time because, nobody wanted to sit inside the house for 24 hours. So just to get out, and that was the only thing you could do, go out and ride a bike. And just picking that up and then competing at small races, which then eventually became state and then national and then the Asian championships. So it's like, if I can do it, anybody can do it. It's not really that big a deal, but Anything else?
Thank you. So I'd like to ask Coach K, like, how do you train or how do you upgrade a guy from marathon to ultra marathon? Like, how does he cope up with? Mike, please. Over here.
Let me take an example of Ooty Ultra, which is something that I founded. Ooty Ultra has got a 60 kilometer as a minimum distance, ultra category, and the 90 kilometers. 90 kilometers not for the beginners. We generally advise 60K. Okay, if we have done a full marathon, then you can think about running a 60 kilometer. The demands of the sport there is, first of all, distance. Second is elevation. There is going to be a lot of uphill climbing and then downhill running involved. So that means the athlete needs to train specifically for climbing uphill while running, and then not just the physical part of it, but also in terms of nutrition. Nutrition plays a critical role in ultra marathon. Most of the ultra runner can eat something in between. I jokingly said you can eat a masala dosa and then still run, right? So that's a possibility. The fueling strategy is different. A marathon runner can probably not survive eating a boiled potato during the run. But an ultra runner can eat a pizza slice and then still continue to run because they're operating at zone 2, zone 3 kind of heart rate. They're still tapping a lot into their fat metabolism and then still continue to train. So ultra marathon training involves multiple hours of running. A runner can become better with running only by running. But of course, you also need strength and condition to protect your joint, maintain a good muscle strength, and also body composition for good appearance. A lot of running is involved, depending upon the distance, depending upon the history of this athlete. Because when I used to train for the 90 kilometer ultras, the longest distance that I've done a week is about 140 kilometers. So the multiple days of running and multiple times, sometimes you run in the morning and then do a recovery run in the evening, again sleep, get up in the morning, the next day do a back-to-back run on the same day. So it's much more complicated. There's no specific answer to this question. Depends upon the athlete, depends upon the sport, depends upon the gender, depends upon their background, where they train, do they have access to mountains? Because I know a lot of runners who train in Chennai come and run Ooty. They think that the performance is going to be completely different. So they basically modify the race day goals. So there's no straight answer, but it depends. Okay, answer is it depends.